Now, viewers, we shift focus to the US. US President Joe Biden will meet his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping, and this will be at the APEC summit being held in San Francisco. The meet comes at the backdrop of the Israel-Hamas war that has been raging in West Asia for over a month. But what's on agenda for the summit? Let's take a look at that first. The United States is hosting the annual Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, the APEC, of world leaders for the first time since 2011. Leaders from the 21-member Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Group will gather in San Francisco to talk about how to better spur trade and economic growth across the Pacific region. It talks about cooperation and coordination. Let me further explain it to you what the forum is all about. Now, APEC is a regional economic forum that was established in 1989. At the time of its establishing, it had barely 12 members. It's a forum to promote trade, investment and economic development among nations around the Pacific Ocean. Ever since 1989, the APEC summit has since grown to 21 members, including China, Russia, Japan, the US and Australia. And those member nations pack a lot of punch, accounting for nearly 40% of the global population and almost half the entire world's trade. Now, the annual Leaders Conference brings together heads of nations and other top economic and diplomatic leaders. But the Russian President Vladimir Putin, facing an arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court, will not be seen here. He will not be in attendance. He will not be going to San Francisco, and the US has made it clear that he was unwelcome. Now, Moscow will instead be represented by Deputy Prime Minister Alexei Overchuk, still the highest level Russian visitor to the United States since the war. Moreover, APEC members include not only Indonesia but neighboring Malaysia, where Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has faced calls from opposition to boycott the summit over US support of Israel. Now, viewers, APEC, which speaks of member economies instead of countries, unusually includes both China and Taiwan. How often do you see that happening? But Taiwan is not represented by a politician here. Instead, it's represented by a business person, Morris Chang, a historic figure in Taiwan's semiconductor industry. Meanwhile, Hong Kong will be represented by Financial Secretary Paul Chan. Chief Executive John Lee, who is under US sanctions for his role in a political crackdown in Hong Kong, opted out of the summit, citing scheduling issues. Now, as of now, the Chinese President Xi Jinping has arrived in San Francisco. While Xi Jinping has arrived, the host country president, US President Joe Biden, has arrived in San Francisco as well to host the 30th APEC Economic Leaders Meeting. Now, viewers, let me tell you why San Francisco was selected as the location for this summit. You see, it was for its historic ties to Asia and its central role in global technology, which made it the apt location. But APEC is unlikely to offer a respite from the issue that has dominated the American president's attention for nearly a month, the Israel-Hamas war. Now, how effective is APEC? The forum has limited scope. It is centered on trade and the economy. There is no military component here, and it wasn't forged by a world-altering event like a war. It technically has member economies rather than countries, as I mentioned earlier, and that allows room for participation by both China-ruled Hong Kong and self-ruled Taiwan. APEC's strength lies in its ability to get countries to work together on big initiatives and to ease business relations without binding agreements. Now, economists point to how APEC contributed to a reduction of tariffs and other barriers to trade, but the trade landscape is different now than when APEC began in a period of increased globalization. The US strategy has been focused on economic competition with China rather than cooperation, which the summit is meant for. Even as US leaders continue to stress on the importance of cooperation, Biden is seeking partnerships with other nations in the region to develop alternatives to Chinese manufacturing imports such as electronic equipment, machinery, furniture, textiles and other goods. So you see hints of intense competition brewing over here. The American president is also trying to highlight progress on the new Indo-Pacific trade deal, which started last year after the former US President Donald Trump withdrew from the more popular Trans-Pacific Partnership. Viewers, the conference also has had its challenges and moments of drama in recent years. Let me list them out for you one by one. Chile withdrew as APEC host in 2019 due to mass protests. Then the next year, the group met virtually in 2020 owing to the COVID-19 pandemic. And again in 2021, it was again held virtually. Leaders did gather in Bangkok last year, 2022, but US President Joe Biden skipped the summit because his granddaughter was getting married and he sent Vice President Kamala Harris in his place. That decision, it did not go down very well. It was regarded as a snub by some APEC leaders. Then delegates from the United States and 4 other nations walked out to protest Russia's invasion of Ukraine as the Russian representative to the conference began to speak. And this is what happened last year in 2022, which was just a few months into the Russia-Ukraine war. This year, viewers, it may give rise to friction over the Israel-Hamas war in West Asia. The variety of nations involved in the summit have strong views on both sides of the conflict, and that conflict is expected to have an impact on the ongoing discussions at APEC.